What's happening, everyone? It is Mike from the Hardcover Comic here. Today, we're going to talk about the top 5 DC Comics Rebirth Deluxe Edition books. Before we get into it, of course, not every DC Rebirth series has been collected. Now, don't get me wrong, I would love to do a top 5 DC Rebirth series, period, but we're going to talk about just the deluxe editions here, so stay tuned. All right, folks, before we dive into things, please be sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already. We post videos daily, comics, hardcovers, all that fun stuff we all love. Be sure to hit that thumbs up as well. Smash it real hard because it really helps us, guys. It helps us a lot, and we appreciate any comments or feedback you may have for us down below. Now, let's get into the top 5 DC Rebirth Deluxe Editions. I do want to give you all a heads up. I don't have my top 5 anymore, but we have done overviews on all the books. I'm going to post links down below in the description. Hook you guys up anyway. Check those out. Go through the artwork, go through the bind itself, the book, quality, dust jacket, all that stuff. It's all down below in the links you'll find in the description. Do have some of the books here. I've sold off a whole bunch of them just because unfortunately DC has not been consistent with their releases. I've got some honorable mentions here I'll go through real quick. This is Green Arrow Volume 1, the Rebirth Deluxe. This was by Ben Piercy and Otto Schmidt. Just got the one volume. Let me double check what it collects. 11 issues, 12 issues, DC Green Arrow Rebirth, and then 1 through 11 of the ongoing series. Of course, the series ran way further than issue 11, but that's all we got for Green Arrow. Next up, Justice League of America. Don't get it mistaken, this is not the Justice League title. This was a series written by Steve Orlando with quite a few good artists, Ivan Reyes, Andy McDonald. And this collected issues 1 through 7 of the ongoing series, along with all these rebirth issues that they did for every team member. It had a pretty cool team: Batman, Lobo, the Atom, Vixen. It was kind of a cool team. We only got the one hardcover deluxe, though. Same situation as Green Arrow. Honestly, it was an interesting team, but the book wasn't fantastic. The artwork was great, but the story, it was really lacking. I've noticed that with Steve Orlando in general. He's an incredible writer of an ongoing solo character series, but as soon as he's got a team, things tend to waver, although I do love what he did with DC Young Animal Milk Wars. The next runner-up, and I mean, for someone this is going to be in their top 5, it's the 2 Nightwing Deluxe Editions. Tim Seeley run started the new the Rebirth. It's all right. It's not bad by no stretch of the imagination. I just thought it was very average. Of course, there's also the whole mix-up with these Batman books where they put in Night of the Monster Men instead of putting the whole event, which was I think like 8 issues or so. You get 2 issues in this book, and then 2 issues in the Batman book, 2 issues. It's all over the place. But let's get into the top 5, guys, and I'm going to start off with number 5. I had the first 3 volumes, and that is Action Comics. This is the Dan Jurgens run. He's got artists like Steven Segovia working with him, Tyler Kirkham. Artwork is top-notch. In the first arc, you get to see the return of Doomsday. You get to see Superman and Clark Kent at the same time. And of course, you get to see Lex Superman step to the home plate, try to help out the home team. It's a really good run. You get to see Superman, obviously not just as Superman, but you get to see him as Clark Kent in some issues. You get to see a lot of young John Kent, a lot of Lois Lane, and you get to see them obviously all interact, especially in that first arc with Doomsday. Obviously a huge villain making a return with the start of Rebirth. And, Action Comics is one of the series that led up into the whole Oz situation. Who is Oz? What has he done? Of course, for anyone keeping up with Rebirth, that's old news at this point, but it was a really good run for what it was until, Bendis took over. Number 4 for me, I'm going to have to go and put Wonder Woman at number 4, the Greg Rucka series. Now, trust me, it's not easy to even choose this top 5 because Wonder Woman by Greg Rucka is an incredible book. In the 2 volumes that were out, the 3rd volume is not by Greg Rucka. It's also great, not as good though. But in the 2nd and 1st volume of Greg Rucka's run, you basically get alternating storylines. You get to see Wonder Woman Year One drawn by Nicola Scott, and then you've got the current stuff. I think the arc is called Truth, happening with Liam Sharp penciling the series. It's incredible to see both of those magnificently talented artists interpreting Wonder Woman in various periods of her life. Of course, Greg Rucka is taking on the challenge of questioning what is Wonder Woman's origin. Is she a demigod, a god, a daughter of Zeus, or was she made out of clay by her mother Hippolyta? What's the truth? Who's creating these false memories? Does it matter what her origin is? Really cool stuff, beautiful artwork. If you're gonna read that run, you should get it in oversized format, 100%. I believe the first 2 volumes will cover the entire Greg Rucka run, and the 3rd volume follows some new creators as well. All right, everyone, number 3 for me. This is, again, a really tough one because this was tied with my number 2, but it is Detective Comics by James Tynion IV. What an incredible run. I'm sure Matt can attest to this because he's read Tynion's entire run. Wow. If you've ever wanted to get to know the Bat family and become interested in the Bat family, that is the book for you. James Tynion not only uses Batman, you've got Batwoman, Batwing, Robin, Nightwing, spoilers in there, Clayface is in there. It's a phenomenal read. I highly recommend it. There are a lot of twists and turns, a lot of huge emotional moments within this series. Fantastic action. You get artwork by guys like Eddie Barrows. I believe Alvaro Martinez was also an artist on the series. Beautiful work. If we don't ever see an omnibus for that, those deluxes are going to be the way to collect it. I forget how many volumes there are. I've been showing you guys the artwork for now. It's a beautiful, stunning series, a really great way to fall in love with the Bat family and different parts of Batman's rogue gallery that we haven't exactly seen. There are also some new villains introduced within the series. It's all really fantastic. Of course, I forgot to mention Azrael is in the book too, which is always great to see. Love me some Azrael. Tynion does an amazing job writing the Bat family, and he's supported by ridiculously good artists. I mean, Eddie Barrows draws the most emotional Batman face ever, and it adds so many layers to the story. It's just great. You got to check that series out. Number 2 for me is, of course, Superman. This is the run by Peter J. Tomasi. I actually do have the physical books with me. The last 2 I'm holding on to still. I really loved this run dearly, and it's mostly because John. It's because of John, really, at the end of the day. The way Peter Tomasi and Patrick Gleason make John Kent come to life is second to none. There's no one even close to channeling the energy that they did for those two, for John Kent, and the way he interacts with the family, the way you get to see him grow up and learn as a kid, all these things, you know, obviously in the same situation as Superman, having powers, but with a different set of parents, right? You've got technically Ma and Pa Kent, but you don't got the OG Ma and Pa Kent, and it's incredible to see. John is just such a great character. He's really the star of Superman, but you get to see him and Superman, his dad, go on adventures with Frankenstein. You get to see them go into space. Of course, we get the Hellbat suit in here as well. If you haven't heard of it, pick this up, check it out, read it. You'll get to find out everything you need to know about the Hellbat suit and the incredible power it contains therein. Oh, it's such a good run. And unfortunately, it also came down to a close. I remember talking to Patrick Gleason at Planet Comic-Con with Matt one year, and this was sort of on the tail of when we were told that Brian Michael Bendis was going to be taking over Superman in Action Comics. Both, Patrick Gleason and Dan Jurgens, who was writing Action Comics at the time, were at the Comic-Con, they're both heartbroken. Patrick Gleason said they had probably 100 issues worth of content that they could have done between him and Peter J. Tomasi. So it sucks, but it is what it is. The world moves on, and hopefully we get to see the team back on Superman again one day. Of course, it won't be the same because John is no longer a child, but it was good while it lasted, and that's all we can do in comic books, right? We can just stick to our nostalgia and enjoy what we did and just try to move on with the times, because that's super important too. But Superman number 2, go check it out, guys. Seriously, I'm not kidding. Last but not least, books I also unfortunately had to let go, but books I'm sure we will see in omnibus for someday, and that is Batman by Tom King. What a series. If we're just talking about the deluxes as well, there are, I think, 4 volumes out, maybe 3 at this point. So we haven't gotten to the stuff where people claim it gets bad. Now, granted, I haven't read Tom King's entire Batman run, but I've read everything contained in the deluxes that have been released, and it is fantastic. His first arc, he introduces 2 new characters to Gotham, superpowered characters. Their origin story is crazy. What ends up happening at the end of that story arc is beautiful, poetic. It's sad. It's epic. Everything you want in a Batman comic wrapped into one. It's even funny at certain points in time, but what a heavy first arc. David Finch doing artwork on that one. Between David Finch, you end up seeing Mikhail Janin doing artwork. Mitch Gerads in there as well. Incredible, incredible Batman artists that graced the pages of DC Rebirth. And unfortunately, I think there are more deluxes coming out for this series, but we'll see what happens. We all know how DC is with cancellations, but Batman by Tom King, I highly recommend. If you're going to pick up any DC Rebirth editions, pick up Batman by Tom King. Now, before we wrap things up here, I do want to say I'm sure a lot of you have been screaming and shouting at me the whole time. What about Scott Snyder's Justice League? I have not read it yet, so I did not want to put it in there as a contender. I understand it's an incredible run, but I've only read the first 6 issues. I do know that we're getting a Justice League Deluxe Edition Volume 2 coming later this year, 2020. So I am now going to officially pick up Volume 1, and we'll have Volume 2 to finish it off. And I'm so excited because I've heard incredible things. I follow Jorge Jimenez on Instagram, and I drool anytime I see that dude's artwork. So I can't wait to read his story. I also did make a custom dust jacket at one point for someone's Justice League by Scott Snyder bind, and I got to flip through the artwork there and get some real nice Jorge Jimenez artwork for the dust jacket. Dude, I can't wait to check that out. I'm so glad we're getting that volume 2. I'm very excited. I mean, it probably might end up making a place on this list, but for now it didn't. So for those of you that have been screaming at me and unsubscribed, be sure to subscribe again because I haven't read it yet. That's the only reason it's not on here. And may as well segue off of that, guys. Please be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to be posting videos all the time, daily, covering everything comics, everything hardcover comics. And, be sure to check out our Instagram page at the Hardcover Comic. Hit that like button down below, guys. This was Mike from the Hardcover Comic. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Until next time, as always, you stay classy, internet.